Says the individual components are covered by their respective manufacturer's warranty. So they only warrant the workmanship, including cabling and connections. So if anything goes wrong with any other piece, that would be covered by that manufacturer, which are probably all different. Most people give a 1-year warranty. I think we need
Who's
it.
the proposal from?
Visual sound.
Visual sound.
Is there a reason we didn't look at any other
Like
companies?
the big box company?
They are co-stars, which means the project doesn't have to be bid, and it is under the 10-9 threshold.
And CoStars is usually pretty good, they usually are very,
They
very
screen their
competitive, yeah,
vendors.
yeah. You're running at it, but this sounds comfortable. Well, I think we need it.
Oh, I'm not saying we don't need it. It's a lot of money to put out.
You know, the last 10 years,
Yeah.
Oh, can I ask a question, or do I have to wait for comments? Why are we prioritizing this over being able to hear in there?
I have one price, it's hard to get acoustics people. I have one price, I'm currently out getting another one, or trying to get another one. That price is around $20,000.
Not that I don't wanna see the,
Sure.
projector, but.
do we have the money in the budget?
Mhm.
Well, I think given that we're going digital plans,
I have one question. You're talking projectors, don't they take screens? Is there gonna be,
That would be an
a
additional
screen?
cost for the screen.
An additional cost, there we go, there's another cost.
We discussed this at previous meeting, about using the
Well,
wall.
I'm just trying to figure out, then you're talking an additional cost for a screen also.
yeah, I think what we'll do is,
Start adding them
for
up.
now, we'll just project onto the wall. We have a nice wall, and that's free.
I usually project well better on a black screen or a silver screen.
May I ask a question? Linda Jansen,
Linda.
Simmons Road. How often do you see utilizing this, say in the next coming year? I mean, it seems like 12 grand, 11 to 12 grand is a lot of money for something that might only get used 2 or 3 times, 4 times.
I'm not denying that.
I mean, I just wonder, could there be maybe a lesser comprehensive system that doesn't cost as much? You know, that, I mean, if it was something that was utilized at every meeting and, you know, or multiple meetings for multiple committees, I could see, you know, spending this expense, but if it's something that's only going to get used once or twice a year, maybe we could start off with a smaller model or something that's not quite as cost prohibitive, and then if the need really presents itself in future years, then maybe upgrade to a $10,000 or $12,000 system.
Well, I think there's 2 parts of that question. One part is there may be a cheaper solution, but the second part, well, the first part is, planning commission would probably use it at every single meeting.
I agree.
And it would be a huge, you know, the planning commission, it would be a huge
Well-
advantage. The second part of that is, what did Bill McGovern use at the regional police presentation? What kind of a projector was that?
Employee zone.
What would that run?
They're under $500.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're $500.
yeah.
I bring my own to park
Plus,
board meetings
I
for
mean, you
presentations.
get the
I know.
person brings their laptop, or someone brings their laptop, you hook it in, and it projects,
Well, could you,
because
well,
everything gets.
so I have a,
I've given some in the past where we, the ambulance companies.
right, so I have a suggestion. Let's look into, I think it has to be wireless, but let's look into a less high-tech version and use that for a while and then see if we have a need for,
And especially if
Something
Carol,
bigger.
you say we're going forward with the PDFs of the digital plans, that could be utilized in that same projection system that Bill McGovern used for his thing. So, I mean, we already have the files, we don't need a, you know,
They
a
can bring it on a
movie.
stick, throw onto a laptop, or they can be emailed.
Yeah, exactly, and then, I mean, it is very
But we
nice
do
to
want-
I have
have
my
it.
laptop with me now, I'm
Exactly.
carrying it all the time.
So, and
Well-
then, you
and I
know,
think we're
and-
looking for something between $500 and $11,000. Can you do a little bit more work on that? I mean, we might need something
Easy
a
there,
little.
could come in at 9,000.
I mean, we might need something a
little
little
lower.
fancier than a $500 projector,
right,
but we
but-
could probably
but yeah,
do
but
very well for
You
a
can
couple
do that.
thousand.
I mean, you get guys
And
who are
then
putting
it-
them in their basements at $1,500 with a sound system and the whole crap.
Well,
and
it's just not gonna be as
projecting
convenient because it won't be on the
80-inch
wall, but
screen.
I think if it has some of the features we need, it'll be just as good.
You're-
But I think we do need a projector,
Best Buys
because, I
and stuff
mean,
do all that
planning,
kind of stuff.
we need to see the plans, the planning commission, and it's
sure,
gonna be
but
very
yeah, I
helpful.
don't
All
think
right,
we need.
and Kevin, you're gonna check into that now.
Okay.
Solution for these.
The other thing I have is for a contract to Chris Yothers from Telford in the amount of $10,220 to repair the township building, township walls by the ambulance and also by the sidewalk.
And that's the only estimate we got.
We got two.
That's the lesser of the two.
I've got a question. How long is that wall gonna last once it's repaired for $10,220? Is it gonna last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? I mean, does he have any
It
kind
made it
of?
20 years with that.
Okay, well, 20 years would be good enough for me, I guess. It'll last another 20 years. Beyond my lifespan.
I hope not.
Maybe not. Seems like a long time, 20 years.
So you need authority.
I need a motion to go ahead with that, yes.
Oh, we'll make a motion and we'll have to get it done before winter.
Yeah, my second.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Under old business, upcoming meetings, next board meeting September 4th, Traffic Calming Committee September 20th, and Planning Commission September 20th. And the other item under old business is the township building use. I think I presented everybody a copy and put it in front of them, the two different versions we have.
So the version, this version is something that I did, which was based on Kevin's version, and my goal was to make it a little shorter. And there are a few different things in it. I think some of the key principles that we were looking at in terms of building use is it has to be a group that is either nonprofit or has an educational, cultural, or recreational goal. So for example, someone coming in and trying to sell something would not be allowed, but someone coming in and having like a yoga class or a lecture or a art presentation or a club meeting, those would be the kinds of uses that would be acceptable.
Well, I have one question about that.
Yes.
Is that during the 8:30 to 4:30 time, or do we have to pay somebody to come in and open and close the building?
That's a good question. So for example, your group comes in during the day, no one's using it. The yoga class comes in the evening, one of them has a key.
They do have a key to you. That's-
So that's something we have to discuss, and one of the things we talked about was taking a deposit that would be equivalent to the cost of having to rekey the door if somebody lost the key.
That's all doable as well. It's
Someone would
just-
have to come and take a key and then have to bring it right back the next day. We
I'd
should not
just-
have any liability, and the person who is responsible for the key should be a resident. So my opinion is this building was paid for by Lower Frederick Township taxes. At least one person in every group should live in Lower Frederick, so they benefit. We should not have completely outside groups come and use the building. That's my feeling. Do you have any extra copies of this?
I think I printed 4.
And then we have to have them sign a release form, releasing us from any liability if somebody, runs into a wall and hurts themselves. Unless it's our fault, it's not our fault. They'd have to pay for the repeating charge. They have to agree to keep it in the same condition as when they found it. If there's any cleaning or any repairs required, they're responsible for that. So we have to also have an application form that would go along with this. So here I put in non-allowed activities, may not be used for any for-profit commercial venture or personal social events. Township building may not be used for solicitation, religious service or function, or partisan political campaign activities such as fundraising or support to a specific candidate for elective offices. Cannot be involved in business promotion, nor can it stage for-profit events. And I also added this sentence in just to protect ourselves. Organizations that espouse violence, overthrow of the government, or recognized hate groups are not permitted use of any township facility. And the Board of Supervisors has the right to disallow any group from using the premises. So we don't want to end up on the front page of the newspaper for having some whatever. Anyway, this is my crack at it. Kevin has another version which is similar but longer, and we had another version as well. And then also things like the kitchen, we don't want people cooking, they can use the space, but, and then restriction on the age of children who are allowed here without supervision.
Well, I know you wanna do it, I think we may be opening up a can of worms with it. I know you wanna,
Well, the thing is, we already allow groups to use it.
there's some,
So I think if we're going to allow groups to use the building, then there's a reason why we shouldn't allow other groups to use the building. But I think we have to have a policy
I
that
follow
sets
you on it.
forth. My recommendation is, let's maybe take another week and look over this and make sure we get it right.
you wanna take questions on it?
It's up to you.
Would you want to add some restriction for severe weather so that it doesn't necessitate that the ground crew has to come out and clean up the parking lot if there's severe weather?
I think that's in here.
Okay.
If the building is closed, then the event is canceled.
Yeah,
There's something in here
for
about
severe
that.
weather.
No smoking and gambling or drinking, I mean, all that kind of
Dan?
stuff.
Yeah, do you have a clause in there that allows the township to kick somebody out in the
Yes.
event that they had an emergency? Need
Yes.
to have a meeting, okay.
Yeah, priority use of the meeting rooms will be given to township-related activities.
But,
Use by any other group is subject to cancellation in the event of a
Okay.
scheduling event. The township reserves its right to cancel any event or use.
you should have a timing in there.
Besides
Yeah.
the township-related groups, which the only one I can think of is yoga and park board, what other outside groups that are related to the township use the building now? What besides the women's club?
The Women's Civic Club uses it.
Is that it?
Well, I think the
that the-
HOA uses it sometimes,
That's
don't
true.
they?
The
Please,
homeowners
I asked.
The HOA. Well, I'm thinking like, if they're Boy Scouts or there's other social and cultural groups that need a place to meet.
Yeah, I'm thinking, why would we want to invite the Boy Scouts in to open up our building when somebody's not here to supervise?
Well, we're not going to invite
I mean, I was a Boy Scout and we had a meeting room in a church. And the church had a dedicated meeting room for us that we were responsible for. And they didn't have to really worry about us burning down the church or anything like that. But to me, it seems like if we only have one group now, and that's the precedent that we're setting, why don't we just make a rule that no groups besides township organized groups use the place, and we'll let the women's club keep using it and grandfather them in until they decide they don't want to do it anymore?
Well, again,
This seems to be opening us up to
well,
A lot
extreme.
of problems.
I think it's easier to make the rules more restrictive. I mean, everybody who lived here paid taxes to build this building, so you wanna say to someone, you pay taxes, but you can't use it because you're not yoga. That's just my opinion. I think we can be restrictive
Yoga
in
is part
terms
of
of.
the, as the park board, that's a township function.
That's fun.
Yoga?
Yeah,
Yeah.
by the park board.
Does she charge?
No, we do. Township does.
$5.
You were on a park board when we organized all this stuff.
No, I wasn't.
No,
I thought you were.
No,
not live one.
no.
And Barbara. Spearhead.
Oh, yeah, we had long discussions over
Yeah.
whether or not we should be charging the people for the wear and tear on the building and things like that. You remember all this stuff, Joe?
I do think she makes a profit on the women using the building. I don't know what she now charges, but I do think she does make a profit by teaching yoga here to the women.
But
Or
we
men.
sponsor it though.
Yeah, to sponsor.
We invited her in to do that. And it's not like we're,
She's making a profit. It's a business. So if it excludes.
I don't wanna get involved in what
she's
happened
being
in
paid
the
the
past.
same way as everybody else that works here gets
Just
paid.
semantics.
I'm just saying that people are using the building, and if a group comes and says, hey, I have no place to meet, can I use the township building? We should have a policy that says, yes, you can, or no, you can't. Now, if our policy is no one else can use the building, then that would be our policy. But I think we need to have a policy, because otherwise it's not fair and consistent.
I agree with Marla. You know, we live in a regulated society today. We have regulations with everything we do. And I think you should set some basic ground rules, and she's done that. I think there's been other people that have added comments to it, but I think you need it. I think it's the way it is today. Don't spell it out, something's gonna happen eventually.
Well, you have two options. Either you set up a whole host of rules like Marla's proposing, or you make a really easy, simple rule that, you know, the buildings only need to be used for township-based, from a legal perspective. I mean, people like to sue people. From a legal perspective, that seems the easier route to go. And then, because somebody comes in here, no matter what you got written, they come in here and they trip over something or get hurt somehow, the next thing you know, we're contacting our solicitor for help. Yeah, maybe I'm being pessimistic again, but
Well, no, not really, because,
They have to
you know,
work
you're
on
gonna
it.
get a projector out there, you're gonna have stuff out there now, and if it stuff starts disappearing or damaging, or,
yeah.
we gotta, you know, then we gotta,
The protector won't be on the wall, so it's gonna be in the
I know,
office, so it's
but
not gonna walk away.
still.
So let's table it and then bring it up again at a, sounds like that's what we need to do.
Let's, from
Table
Kevin's
it.
standpoint, being at
Sorry, one
the
question.
other township, Kevin, were there policies in your prior?
Some had, some didn't. The ones that did were not this restrictive. There had, for years and years and years, have let people use the building. They were, for the most part, just municipal groups, but they did rent it out for birthday parties and, you know, graduation parties and things like that.
Did they get to the extent, if it was a group, that they required general liability insurance?
Yes.
That may be a point where you're protecting yourself, so in the event of an injury or something, they're protecting themselves. And they.
I mean, normally it fell on whoever was organizing the party or the event, fell on their homeowners insurance.
yeah, but they'd have to give you a policy.
They would have to give a certificate.
Yeah, well, I think that's something we should definitely have, is people who do use it, have them sign a release so that you do not have liability. I mean, obviously, if it's our fault, we would take responsibility, but if someone has something happen to them that it's their fault, then they shouldn't be liable. So that would be
One
very
question,
good.
Tom, Tom, have you weighed in on the legalities of this sort of thing?
I have not.
I think that's important.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it and be ready next week to see, give you
And
a
a
comments.
liability bond.
Liability.
Well, again, what I wrote into there is that the people using it have to sign a release of liability.
Perkiomen Library rents out there downstairs, so I mean, we could probably look and see what they use. I mean, I remember renting it for my son's birthday party like 15 years ago. I know everybody and their brother goes there, so might be something to look at.
But sometimes those waivers of liability aren't ironclad. I know from my family's association with the Spring Mountain Ski Area, I mean, it's written, you sign a release, it's written on all your tickets that they're not responsible, but inevitably they got sued every year, you know,
Well,
so.
again, we have 3 groups who are using it here, what do we have with them?
Well, that would be covered since it's a township-based sponsored group, it would be covered under the township's liability insurance.
I think
just
what we'll
much
have
the
to
same
do,
as
Does
if,
have insurance.
We'll-
We have insurance.
Kevin, you'll
You
have to
insurance. I don't know about.
get a hold of our insurance people and see what they say.
That's a good
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so this is tabled then. And we'll get all this information and we'll discuss it again.
Okay. Had under new business, reestablish.
Before we go into new
Oh,
business, I
sorry.
do have one thing of old business. So last month, at this work session, I brought up the possibility of using some grants, again, for some of the people that were not here. This meeting last month, I'm an employee of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors via the National Association of Realtors. Their dues dollars, it's 1.2 to 1.3 million members. They collect what is called grant dollars. It's a budget line item. It's not local, state, or federal government dollars. This is strictly dues dollars of Realtor members that are line itemed and made into grant dollars. Use these quote-unquote grants across Pennsylvania for a number of different projects. And with the support of my fellow supervisors, I asked to give a couple presentations, one at the Parks and Rec Board, which took place beginning of last month, and then again a couple weeks ago to the Planning Commission. What kind of grants are these? When it comes to Parks and Rec, we've done a lot of work when it comes to playgrounds, anything that is considered a place where people can congregate and enjoy whatever it might be. Again, playground is the easiest example. In terms of Planning Commission, I've specifically worked with these grant dollars to help fund educational programs to educate realtors, municipal officials, the general public about comprehensive planning, zoning, and so on and so forth. One of the most recent examples was doing some polling to learn resident feedback on future comprehensive planning. That example was in Tioga County, which is in north central Pennsylvania. Getting a little bit off subject here, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understood where I was coming from. The reason I bring this up is at the Parks and Rec Board, I had the opportunity to speak, and Pam Wright is here as the vice chair of the Parks and Rec Board. And we got to talking about some different ideas. And before we move forward with some of the ideas that we're taking a look at, certainly wanted to more or less get permission from all 3 of the supervisors to allow our solicitor to do a little bit of research in terms of ordinances and how they may or may not prohibit or allow certain things to happen. Do you want to touch, Pam, on anything else?
We
that I'm
have a
not touching?
subcommittee in the Park and Recreation Board that is currently identifying possible projects that the group wants to take on in the current year. One of the projects we're looking at that we're particularly interested in is installing a masonry mural wall up at the CDS Park. This would either have a mural or a mural on both sides, or a mural and sculpture, not, you know, that's not clear. But a wall, standalone wall, that would have this mural on it, representing